Brodes Media.
Hello, friends. Welcome on in to Sports Talk with Brodes. This week is grinding by. It is the worst week of the sports calendar, so I'm doing my best, okay? And the Phillies are doing their best in the All-Star game. We got a nice hit from Trey. We got a nice hit from Bryce. We got a nice hit from Bohm. Our relief pitchers did their thing. Sanchez did his thing for a couple of pitches, and then, I mean, the worst manager to ever exist made a decision, but I digress. Bohm, thank you very much for the entertainment in the home run derby. It took a long-ass time to get through, but you know what? I was entertained for the most part. All right, here's reality of the situation, though, as we look at this team being the best team in all of baseball at the All-Star break. I want to give you my biggest surprise of the first half, my biggest disappointment of the first half, and then some honorable mentions throughout the show as well. So let's start with my biggest surprise. It's got to be Christopher Sanchez. Last season, in the NLCS Game 4, there was not a lot of faith in the young pitcher. So much so that at 38 pitches, when he only logged in 2 1/3 innings pitched, Rob Thompson looked at his bullpen and said, we need to make a change. Now, even without Sanchez being how dominant that we've seen this year, like the level he reached this season, even without him being this good, I still thought it was a quick hook. Way too early to yank him out of the ballgame, even with last year's version of Sanchez. With that said, though, I don't think that would ever happen with the Sanchez that has a sub-3 ERA that is an all-star. An all-star! Now, unfortunately for him, the game against the Chicago Cubs probably hurt the original announcement of making the All-Star game, meaning that, remember, he didn't get the nod until something started to change and Ranger wasn't going to participate and the Braves and this and that. And then, after that initial first wave of All-Stars, then Sanchez got added late. If he didn't give up 7 earned runs in 4 innings in Wrigley Field against the Cubs, he probably would have been labeled an all-star just with the original crew. I guess it doesn't really matter when it's all said and done. The acknowledgement was there, and he has that now on his accolades, and he had an opportunity to pitch in the game, and he definitely did a sharp job. So whatever. The result was he was where he deserved to be. But I'll just tell you what. This guy throws a complete game shutout. He also throws 7 scoreless against the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's smooth, man. He's no joke of a customer, and I just have so much confidence in him. He's poised as hell, and he's got a pitch that he knows the second it leaves his fingertips, he's in a great position. That changeup is scary as hell, and it doesn't matter if he's pitching against one of the best hitters, one of the best power hitters, one of the best contact hitters, whoever. It doesn't matter. He feels so good about that changeup. It's a deadly weapon, and it's hard to have someone that knows they have that in their back pocket. He destroys you with it. I love it. And I feel great when he gets the mound. And clearly, the Phillies feel that way too, because Dave Dombrowski pulls him into the office and goes, we want you longer. We want to make sure you're tied up. Here's an extension. Here's millions of dollars. We want you a part of this staff. I didn't know if we'd be getting a sub-3 ERA Christopher Sanchez this season. Quite frankly, I never saw it coming. So that was my biggest surprise of the season so far. His home and away splits are definitely wildly extreme. That doesn't have me panicking by any means. I just think it's a little weird. Yes, I'm aware that pitching in front of your home crowd is easier than pitching on the road. There's a comfortability factor as well of just the dimensions of your ballpark and the rubber and the mound. That's what you're used to. You see it significantly more. So I get it. You know, there's just knowing that that's your home. Everyone's always just a little bit less on edge when you're in a familiar area. But I don't think he just doesn't know how to pitch at all when he's not here. And one of those starts is insanely inflated because of the 7 earned runs in 4 innings in Wrigley. So take that out, and I wonder if we're getting smacked in the face as roughly. The numbers will still tell a story. It's just inflated a tad in my eyes, and we'll see. I believe in his stuff. His stuff works whether you're pitching in the desert, whether you're pitching in South Philly, whether you're pitching in Fenway, whether you're pitching wherever it is, Baltimore, it doesn't matter. You either have filthy stuff, and he does. Christopher Sanchez, huh? What a world. All right, here's my disappointment. It's Nick Castellanos, and let me explain why. I wish he was more like Trey Turner. Trey Turner played very disappointing baseball when he first got to town. I don't have to remind anybody how that went. But I think deep down, we all understood that he wasn't that bad. That's why the standing ovation happened. Because we've seen this dude be a huge face of the game. When the World Baseball Classic was going on, which is all of the best players ever living on planet Earth, and with the stacked Team USA roster, he was the one that dominated all the storylines. He was the one that was launching the ball out of the park. He was leading the entire nation at the time. So for him to be as ugly as he was at the plate, that's not Trey. And now we're watching Trey put up MVP numbers. With Nick, I'm not telling you MVP numbers, but I was just hoping by now, especially with maybe less pressure, just with, Bohm stepping up, Trey being a dog, Kyle incorporating more in his game and not just being a home run hitter. He's able to go the other way. He's able to slap some singles in there. It's just different. The batting average isn't 190. So there's a lot of other phases here that are helping Nick out where it's like, dude, just go be Nick. Be the Nick that ended up getting the fat bag after his final season in Cincinnati. Can he have a year of some consistency? And the reason why he's my disappointment is this is reality. This is the Nick Castellanos reality. And I was holding on hope that eventually, if he's here for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is at the end of the day, that maybe eventually, after 2 years of up and down, after 2 years of highs and lows, that one of the seasons, the Cincinnati Nick Castellanos, will be right in our face. And I was hoping just because, he got the first few years under his belt out of the way, and all right, now I get it. I know where I'm at. I'm feeling normal here. This is my city. I'm part of this thing. That now he could finally show up on a consistent night-to-night basis. And that's just never going to happen. Now, I've been a firm believer in you can still salvage this thing because if he's batting 7th and JT comes back, he's not batting cleanup and you're relying on him super heavily. And I stand by that take. But from an overall view of the Nick Castellanos experience. This is the reality year of it's been long enough. This is consistent with Nick. He's inconsistent. And that's never going to change. And now we have to sit in that and see where it takes us. So that was how I digested the first half. I do have some honorable mentions. Let's start here with an honorable mention surprise. We'll do sort of a snake draft. Isn't that what it is? We go surprise, disappointment. No. Surprise, disappointment, then disappointment, surprise. Wouldn't that be the snake draft? Whatever. I don't care. I'll go surprise. Matt Strahm this season. An honorable mention. I'll never forget the first two series of the season. The Atlanta Braves and the Cincinnati Reds. They were god-awful times. Just disgusting, actually. I'm getting angry just thinking about it. And Matt Strahm, for the first game of the year, goes out there and looks horrendous. It made me sick. And remember, what was the national headlines in regards to who has the best Major League Baseball bullpen prior to first pitch this season? It was your Philadelphia Phillies. No one wanted to believe it. No one wanted to buy in. We have a ton of scars from Brandon Workman, who had a 1.88 ERA in Boston prior to putting on a Phillies jersey and then forgetting how to pitch. Dude would hang curveballs every day, every at-bat, hanging curveballs right over the heart of the plate. People were teeing it up like it was on a fucking tee at the Open, and Tigers just giving it a how do you do and smacking it 450 yards right down the pipe. Unreal. So anyway, Matt Strahm, game one, proved exactly why we were all walking on eggshells, not believing that their bullpen could satisfy us. Yeah, then what happened? Let me explain something to you. That dude didn't allow an earned run from the end of April until the middle of June. And the amount of outings, 1 innings pitched, 2 Ks. 1 innings pitched, 2 Ks. 1 innings pitched, 2 Ks. Bang, bang, bang in a row. Mr. Reliable, they say. I even remember against Pittsburgh, we needed him for a couple innings. Yo, dude, you got 2 in you? Do I have 2 in me? 2 innings pitched, 5 Ks. Matt Strahm is a killer. And this guy runs through about a month and a half, all of May, middle of June, end of April, cooking. That's ridiculous. And now that I'm saying this, I'm almost wondering, was it middle of July? No, I don't think. No, because the middle of July is now. Fuck, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. I'm just going to pretend like that never happened. No. I know life goes by fast, but come on now, dude. It's the middle of July now. Idiot. Honorable mentions on this. Nope, I just did surprises. On disappointments. See here. I am going to go. Okay. I don't like this one. Obviously, it's in the disappointment category. The reason I don't like this is because it's such a negative thought and it could derail the season. And for as strong as this season has been, there's no way that I deserve to put this level of negativity into the air. With that said, I'm not just randomly mentioning health. It's on the record that there is some serious stuff happening with this individual. So I'm not just saying, well, what if, and this guy is 100% right now. My biggest disappointment, honorable mention-wise, is Zach Wheeler's back. And the fact that he's been dealing with this for a while. And not only that, the more and more I try and process it, we had no clue about the back issues. They don't have to tell us everything. They tend to not tell us a lot of things for many different reasons. Maybe because it's not as bad as the words sting. Zach Wheeler's injured. Oh, man, that hurts, right? But maybe there's no reason to say it because it's not that serious. Or it could be the other way around. Well, there is some concern, and we don't want it out on how bad it could be. I don't know which one it is. My brain automatically goes to the negative thoughts, though. I won't spend too much time on this one because I don't think the team, after how well they played, deserved this type of energy. But I tell you how I feel. And part of me wonders why they were trying to keep it under the rug for a while. And not only that, how does reaching back and throwing 98 versus Shohei Ohtani, which was a beautiful, beautiful at-bat, yeah, Zach Wheeler's perspective, of course. How does reaching back and going 97, 98, throwing high 90s going to help out a back that continues to bother him? Now, they've maintained it, and they found ways to sort of get by with it, but projecting a second half, how does this get better? I don't think it gets better. It's just, can you still continue to be effective with it? And sure, if he's been pitching with it for a little bit of time, he's been Zach Wheeler for a good portion. The nature of pitching, though, I mean, I'm not an athlete, so I'm not Zach Wheeler. I put my Christmas tree upstairs in my attic, tweaked something in my back, and I was down and out for 3 weeks. How do you think throwing 98's going to deal? I don't know. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'll go with a different disappointment because there are a few. Marsh versus lefties. I don't know if it's there. Now, I also don't know if he's been giving a real chance. Meaning, hey, you got a month. You don't need to go up to the plate against a lefty and put so much pressure on yourself. If you strike out, no big deal. I'm giving you a full month. You're playing out there, lefty, righty. Doesn't matter. Go do your thing. I just don't feel confident in Marsh versus lefties anymore. I also, though, don't feel good about Rojas whatsoever. And if you go get, I don't know, maybe a Brent Rooker at the deadline, and he plays left and Marsh plays center and Marsh has to play against lefties, well, I bet you he can hit more than 0.68 or 0.93, which is what Rojas was batting all of last season in the playoffs. By the way, in a year where he hit 300 in the regular season. So he went from 300 regular season to 0.93 in the playoffs. This year, he's hitting around 230, 240 in the regular season. And now what do we get in the postseason? I don't know. To his credit, he's busting his ass out there and making it difficult on the front office because he's making special defensive plays. And when he is on the bases, he's showing his speed and showing his worth. I don't know how they handle this thing, though, because you have to get an outfield bat. They're obsessed with Rojas, and they're going to try and throw him in there. And Marsh is only going to play against against righties, and they're definitely going to platoon to some level. But if the platoon is someone who's not good at hitting like Rojas, does it defeat the purpose anyway? I'm just kind of talking out loud. I know we haven't seen any of the deadline moves, and I got a whole laundry list of trade deadline thoughts. So while I was going to bring it up today, I almost thought I would somewhat hit the pause button, and maybe we can do an entire show on my thoughts on the deadline because over the last 48 hours, I've kind of come to conclusion on how exactly I want Dave to handle this. So I guess we'll sort of tease that for another time. All right, here's another surprise in there for me. Edmundo Sosa. Trey Turner goes down for 6 weeks. And he did more than just help you survive. There's a big difference between doing enough. Hey, you're not hurting us. And I think to a degree, the catchers for JT, maybe I'll group this all into one. The complementary pieces throughout injuries. Marchand, Stubbs, Edmundo Sosa, different levels to it. But man, is that impressive how they continued to play strong ball. And Edmundo Sosa goes around and smacks 300. I mean, he was the spark plug and what really helped you with some, not motivation, momentum. Different M word. There was a moment where he was the one that was creating that energy in the ballpark. When he looked in the dugout after scorching a double in the gap and maybe knocking in a run or two, the fact that it was him, he was the one pointing at Bryce. He was the one pointing at Kyle. He was the one pointing at the fellas. Then they all rise and stand over the dugout, pumping their fists, and he's shimmying. He created that life. Edmundo Sosa. Marchand with some pop in his bat, hitting a couple homers. Stubbs, just being the vibe guy, playing a good defense behind the plate, maybe gunning somebody out at second. Hey, I remember when Stubbs was the one who actually, on his own, pulled a Rojas on the bases. Himself. Taking bags and coming all the way around to score. I watched him hit a 2 RBI knock early in a game to give the Phils juice. Now you're up 2-0 because of Stubbs. At the bottom of your lineup, knocking in some meat and potatoes that got on in front of him. You lose Kyle, you lose Trey, you lose Bryce. How's that going to go? A lot of this wouldn't happen without the strong, dominant starting pitching. Wheels, Nola, Ranger before he got the dead arm. Sanchez. You had Turnbull flirted in there for a while when Taijuan Walker wasn't available for you. Now, they botched the whole fifth starter thing as the season started to progress, but still, think about it. You started the year off without Taijuan, who was slotted in as your fifth starter. All right, we signed Spencer Turnbull. It was a good move. What's his role going to be? They're definitely limiting his innings, and they don't want to go overboard. They don't want to give him too much, put too much on his plate. Well, he slots in there, and this guy is insane. Insane. And then, well, they kind of screwed him up and asked him to change his role and barely used him at times. He went from starter, who was lethal, to almost a mop-it-up kind of guy. Hey, this game's getting out of touch territory. Here's an inning here, there's an inning there, and the whole situation was botched after that. But that's another name to even throw into the equation here. I got some others. I got Bohm having more doubles now than he had in all of last season. So in 140-plus games, he had 2 less doubles than he has now in 90-plus games. By the way, when you think about the middle of this first half, leading the National League in runs batted in, I remember a time where teams didn't want to walk. I'm looking up the NL RBI leaders because I don't know where he falls right now. But I remember when teams preferred going after Bryce because they were afraid of Bohm. I mean, that's how good he got. They said, you know what, I guess we'll go to Bryce here. because it's not a good idea to go to Bohm with the hot stick that he's swinging. Where's Bomer? Is this all? Wow, where did he fall to? No way this is. Where's his name? I should not be scrolling down this far. Oh, it's 2. Oh, my bad. Yeah, Marcelo Ozuna. Oh, I hate him. 77 RBI. Alec Bohm, 70. Shohei Ohtani with 1 less than Bomer. Speaking of Shohei, oh, wow, did he hit a home run in that All-Star game? That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. All right, why don't I just throw in an anytime hotline call just to round things off, because I always love hearing from the people.
Hey, Brodes, Rowdy from Syracuse. I was just catching up on all the shows from the past week. I was on vacation in Ocean City, Jersey. Got to see the Trey's Grand Slam game against the Dodgers in person at the bank. That was pretty cool. I'm calling today because I wanted to fill in my take on why I think the pitching is struggling, and I think it's got a lot to do with not having JT back there calling the 1s and 2s. I think he's just more of a veteran eye in where that bat is going and how he can shape it up to make the pitchers more efficient that maybe Stubbs and Martin can't do. I think it's going to be really important to get him back. I just want to get your take on that.
Thanks, Rowdy. I appreciate the call, as always. I feel, and I've heard this take a while now, I feel we're putting way too much emphasis on who's calling the game. I actually took a call last night, and the gentleman brought up Ranger's not injured. He doesn't have any issues at all. He's just pissed off that Garrett Stubbs and Marchand and all these backup catchers are ruining him. Hold on a second. What? Ranger has a dead arm. The reason why Ranger is struggling is Ranger struggling. I watched Garrett Stubbs call a complete game shutout for Christopher Sanchez. How come Tyler Phillips can come in and do a pretty solid, damn good job? Because Tyler Phillips comes in and does a pretty damn good job. JT Realmuto is a better catcher than Stubbs. But remember, it was what? Was it a year ago that some fans thought JT couldn't call a game? I just always find it funny, and I'm not getting mad at you, Rowdy. I'm just using you as the jumping off point because I've been hearing this take for a little bit now. But I remember maybe a year or two ago, JT can't call a game. Knapp calls a better game. Stubbs calls a better game. Now it's the complete opposite. Reality is some of these pitchers have been pitching way out of, like not out of character, but are you going to post a 1.45 ERA all year long? Are you going to have a 1.65 ERA all year long? And I'm just using that number as an example. Like, you'll go back to the mean at some point. And to get back to the mean is you're going to have some uh-ohs. The reason why Christopher Sanchez gave up 7 earned run in 4 innings pitched is because he didn't have it that day. When the pitcher doesn't have it that day, which can happen when JT's on that, there's games where the pitcher gets shelled, JT's pitching. If Taijuan Walker has a bad outing with JT behind the plate, is it because JT called a bad game? Or is it because Taijuan Walker isn't executing and he's struggling and he's throwing 90 miles per hour, 89 miles per hour? Well, that's sort of what's happening here, is your pitchers are not executing. Zach Wheeler has back issues. That's more of a problem. Ranger's dead arm, that's more of a problem. Sanchez, he's a 4th starter in Major League Baseball with a sub-3 ERA who was on a crazy tear for the season, goes to Wrigley and has a rough one. What we're doing in my eyes is searching for a reason why. We're looking for why it happened. And why it happened was they just didn't execute, but we're looking for a deeper meaning. Yeah, but that can't be it because he's too good or he's been pitching well. No, it can be it. It's just one of those days. What Garrett Stubbs and Marshawn has done, it's been remarkable. And they deserve a lot of love more than any sort of criticism for the way they call a game. And if you don't want to throw what they're throwing, you do something about it. And not only that, I've listened to Garrett Stubbs speak in the past. It was actually on the radio broadcast before or after one of the games. They interviewed Stubbs, and he was just talking about, like, the preparation that goes into this and the amount of tape study, film study, sitting down with the pitching coach, sitting down with the pitchers, talking. I mean, this is all predetermined stuff where they're aware on what the game plan is. And that's signed off on by Caleb Cotham, the pitcher. I mean, it's not like Garrett Stubbs goes, all right, listen, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm putting fingers down and I'm just guessing. This is all predetermined stuff on how we're going to approach this lineup. And it's agreed upon with all parties in mind. That is the truth. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll catch you all on the next one.